Yes, good afternoon. I think it's afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. Just a quick 15-minute video with a difference today. We've got Dave from the Irish Hotspur. My man, long time since we streamed together. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's good to see you back, Savva, not letting the trolls win. And I'm keeping well. Thanks very much for asking me to come on here today. Hopefully people enjoy it and enjoy the conversation. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, listen, I absolutely, man. The trolls will never win. They have mini victories. We win the war, right? So, look, Dave, I thought it was interesting. Everybody kind of knows at this stage my opinion of my viewers know my opinion of Spurs and the transfer market. And I just thought I wanted to bounce some conversation off you to see if I am the negative one that I'm portrayed to be in the fan base. Look, Dave, I want to start with this. We obviously signed the 18-year-old South Korean lad yesterday. And off the back of that, Paul O'Keefe and the other Spurs commentators, so to speak, were very quick to add in, hang on. We've got 3 in the pipeline. And it's not our fault. It's the other clubs. They're holding everything up. I wanted to explore with you today who those 3 are, the links that we've been linked with, and whether or not you think that this is actually panning out to be a good window. So I wanted to start with your overall feelings. The window so far, Berger, we knew was coming in. Archie Gray from the Championship from Leeds was quite a big price. Werner on loan again. And now the South Korean lad Kang. So far, what's your feelings on this window?
First of all, I did break the South Korean kid story before Fabrizio Romano. So if anyone wants to check my video, I had it out a day before he did, so I was onto it.
Love it. Love it.
But look, when it comes to the transfer window so far, Werner coming back in, I find very underwhelming. I don't understand the thought process behind that deal because, you know, for me, one of the forward lines was one of the biggest reasons, you know, of our downfall last season. I don't think it was clinical enough or it was good enough to be able to open up teams as soon as they found a way of playing against us, which was sit back, low block, don't give Tottenham any space in behind and ask them to play through you. He couldn't do that last year, so I don't understand when we brought him in here on loan this year. Personally, I would like to see a bit more ambition for us in that position. Going on to Berger coming in, look, and Archie Gray. For me, I've learned, you know, over the last few years that age is only a number. If you're good enough, you're old enough. You look at Van de Ven, Destiny Udogie, and players like that, they have helped push us on a little bit from where we were before Ange Postecoglou came in here from 8th to 5th. But look, Archie Gray, I think, is going to work out to be a good signing for Tottenham Hotspur, but we still don't know where he's going to play. It's not clear. Is he going to play at right back? Is he going to, you know, be one of the guys to compete in the midfield? It's still very unclear. One thing I will say is I do think we've got one hell of a player on our hands. And look, he might even end up solving our number 6 position problem if he gets that opportunity instead of Bazuma. But them signings, Berger and Archie Gray, I'm okay with. But I did expect us to do a lot more in this window, Savva, to be brutally honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, look, one thing that you'll always get, and I know that after that minute monologue there from you, the first thing people will be going is the window's not shut. The window's not shut. Now we know it's not shut, but in terms of we're being told we're going to make 3 more signings, and that works because we normally make 6 to 7 a summer, right? And it's normally a couple of good ones, a couple of youngsters, and then a couple where we all argue and fight about whether or not they're good enough, like Timo Werner. Yeah. We're cutting it fine in terms of our first game, I believe, is in, 26 days, something like that, 25, 26 days. They've gone on tour, so none of these new players will be able to go with them. The likes of the players that we're being linked with, and these are the ones that won't go away, Dave. I'm not just plucking names. These are the 4 players that won't go away, right? You've got Ivan Toney, Eze, Neto, and Jacob Ramsey. They're the 4 that won't go away. What do you make of that 4 as a collective? How many of them do you think will get over the line? And are they the players that take you from here to there?
I think Ivan Toney is definitely one that can take us from here to there. I think his all-round game is good. I think he offers you a lot of maybe what Harry Kane offered us before his departure. And it's clear that we do need that guy up front. I would still hold on to Richarlison and not sell him. I'm a firm believer we need two strikers at the football club, and that, we should bring someone in to, lay down the gauntlet to Richarlison and say, okay, show us how available and fit you are this season now. This player. And if he doesn't, sell him on next season, because I just don't believe the club are going to bring in two strikers this summer. But Ivan Toney is perfect. He can hold up the ball, link up with others, bring them into play, takes free kicks, takes penalties, scores goals. He's you can put balls into the box for him to go and attack. He's good enough to go and do that. But also he's got a good passing range. So I think he would be absolutely ideal. Him or Gyökeres from Sporting, I would, or as one of my two strikers coming into this football club. Eze, absolutely over the moon if we can pull him in. Probably make me fall in love with the guy if we could get Eze in here. I really like him. I think he's got that je ne sais quoi, that plays behind that front line that maybe we don't have. But I'd also argue we can play on wing. I think, back end of last season he played on, was it the right or the left against us for Crystal Palace, and he absolutely destroyed us for a good part of that game. So for me, I think he would be a game changer, puts pressure on Maddison, but also he'd completely take Brennan Johnson out of that team on the right-hand side. You'll get him in there. You could put Son back out to his natural position and then have a striker. And that front three, if we get that right this summer, we will kill off teams a lot more when we have that dominant spell of possession like we had last season. I think part of the biggest problem is that we camped in the final third, but our passing was almost too safe, Savva, to the point where things were looking going right. When as soon as it goes him, press him, take it off him, we're straight in. And I think it contributed to our defensive problems to a large degree last season. And when it comes to Jacob Ramsey, I don't quite get this one. I can understand it, with Eze, Toney, and Jacob Ramsey, that we're being linked to a lot of English players, because this is something I've spoke about for quite some time. Our English side of the squad, our homegrown quarter side of the squad is absolutely non-existent. It's crap. I'll go through it here right now. Just bear with me 1 second. We've got Ollie Skip in there, who he's just not suited to Ange ball, nowhere near it. So he's going to have to be moved on. We've got James Maddison. Okay, fair enough. Archie Gray. You have Fraser Forrester, Jed Spence, if he's being kept around, Brennan Johnson. You've got the two goalkeepers in Brandon Austin, Alfie Whiteman. You've got Ben Davies, Ashley Phillips, but we don't know whether he's going to be kept around or not. And then Dane Scarlett and Alfie Devine, again, question marks around their future. So that's why Spurs are hitting the homegrown market. This was going to have to happen at some point. But that's and we should be doing it, because although we've got a great, like the likes of Mikey Moore, great under-21 talents around Savva, they don't actually have to be registered for the Premier League squad whatsoever. No. You can go from a 25-man squad to a 30-man squad if you keep the right players around and give yourself a bigger squad. So that's why we're targeting homegrown players. And I think that's why maybe we're looking to bring someone like Ramsey in here, because they view it as an upgrade on Skip. But the price...
Let me ask you, Dave. I want to ask you, though, listen, I completely agree with you. Toney, for me, by the way, I don't think Toney is sensational, but I do think he's a throwback. He's a modern, an old school centre forward that you can put the ball into him and say, hold on to it. Go and fight the centre backs. Go and press them. Whip balls into him. So I do agree. Eze, for me, I think spot on. That would make me fall back in love a little bit more with the club, if I'm honest. A game changer. A player that when he gets the ball, all of a sudden everybody's on their seat like that saying, what's he going to do? Ramsey is the one where I'm lost, because so far, if you look at it, Dave, we've brought in Bergvall and Gray, who are both centre mids, right? They're both central midfielders. Bentancur's not going anywhere centre mid. Basuma's not going anywhere centre mid. Sarr's not going anywhere centre mid. At the moment, Skip's not going anywhere centre mid. Hall, Devine, these are very talented centre mids. What we're bringing him in, where for me, the next central midfielder needs to be that defensive central midfielder position. And we all talk about it, Dave. Sean's talked about it for years. He always says, doesn't he? We need that monster number 6.
Yeah.
But we keep signing these number 8s that I don't really know if you are going to sign an 8. Is Ramsey that much of an upgrade on the players that we've got, that's where we want 50 million or cash plus a player to go? Surely there's better, isn't there, Dave, than Jacob Ramsey to take us to that next level?
Look, I think there is a lot better out there, but like I said, when you're only shopping in the English market like we have to, it reduces 90% of your market. You've only 10%
Yeah,
of the market to really go for. And
yeah,
apart
yeah.
from, when you look at the England squad right now, Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, players like that, we ain't getting anywhere near them. They've already been recently snapped up and stuff. So you're talking about the next category like Conor Gallagher, Jacob Ramsey, to a large degree. And that's why we're stuck, looking at the likes of Jacob Ramsey and that. Look, personally, if you want to go for an attacking sort of midfielder, go all out for Morgan Gibbs-White. Get him in here. I think he'll be a brilliant addition. But part of me also thinks that this Jacob Ramsey one is just dragging on because there's not much transfer news out there at the minute, and these people just want us to click on things. That's all they want to do. They want the click-through rate. I think Spurs got their answer months ago when they went looking for Jacob Ramsey, when they tried to do a Lo Celso deal, to be able to try and bring him in here. I think they got their answer, and I think this is just one that keep being put out there for us to click through, on quiet days, personally.
And yeah, look, I agree with you. I think it will be very underwhelming. I think if an opportunity presents itself, so like on the last day of the window, Villa say 20 million, he's yours. You go, all right, 20 million, young English midfielder done. But I think when they're talking about the 50 millions and it's taking months, no interest. The last player there, this is one that splits the fan base, and I don't think it's because of ability. I think it's more to do with injuries. Pedro Neto. Superb winger, goals, assists. That injury concern is going to hang over his head for his career, right? What do you make of those links? And if so, why have we not got it done?
Look, I really like Pedro now. That guy's, done us a number of times. To be brutally honest, he's a brilliant player, and he's almost exactly what you need. That switch of pace, that fast dynamism that he can bring you, almost that surprise, that element of attack. He's that quick. But for me, the injury record is why I would actually personally stay away from someone like Pedro Neto. You look at the amount of injuries we carried last season, and even underneath Antonio Conte, it's only going to get worse with the amount of games modern-day players are expected to play, pre-season tours, post-season tours, added on internationals and stuff like that. And I also look at it, I think there's a reason why no one has gone to Wolves and plucked them out yet. Diego Jota's been plucked out, Jimenez has been plucked out, players like that, but no one has plucked Jota out, and I think many clubs don't want to pull the trigger on him because of that injury record. And for me, you bring him in here, I think we're going to get ourselves into a bit of a Darren Anderton situation where we rely on him, we really need him, but he's never really available fit for when we really need him. So for me, I think you're only adding to a problem rather than actually solving a problem, to be brutally honest with you, Savva, going for someone like Pedro Neto.
I think for me, he falls into that category of, if again you could get him for 20, 25 million, you say that is definitely worth the risk. But if all your eggs are going to go into the Neto basket, I've got his details here, Dave. Last season, he managed 20 Premier League games, so he missed 18. The season before, he managed 20 Premier League games. The season before, he managed 13. The season before, 31. So he's on average over those 5 seasons, he's averaging, if I just do quick maths, he's averaging about 20, 21 games a year. So you're almost saying we've got you for half a season, but yeah, if not him, somebody else is needed. Dave, I want to move it on to lots of talk about the Euros, and lots of talk about players being on holiday. My concern, I'll tell you, people would be upset if I didn't have a little moan. My concern, Dave, is that I'm seeing other clubs, whether they get these deals over the line or not, they're attempting it. So, for example, Fabrizio Romano today has said that West Ham asked Girona about Artem Dovbyk. They asked the question. For the Serie A top goal scorer, they asked the question, right? He's not going to go. He's going to go to either Roma or Atletico. But after that, now they've gone, right, John Duran. We want to go and get John Duran from Villa. And we want to do this. They're now in talks with, they've got the green light just now, Romano said, for Mazraoui, who's a very good right back from Bayern Munich. They bought in Max Kilman. They've inquired about Kante. My question is this, Dave. If West Ham can go and make these inquiries and get some of them over the line, why are we not? Why are we not doing this,
The only logical conclusion I can come up with, Savva, is that Ange Postecoglou said towards the end of last season that he's already had the meeting with the transfer committee, with the board, on the ideas of the players that he wants out and that he wants to bring in. Now, after he's had that meeting, it's purely down to the transfer committee to be able to get the outgoings out and the incomings in. And that's really slowed up. Now, that could be one of two things. Either the plans have gone completely wrong and we haven't executed them, and that we're maybe looking to try and pivot. Or the second one is that the club are actually showing a bit of cojones. They're doing what many people don't, that many people accuse them of not doing, which is, sticking to their number one choice and waiting for these guys to, like Eze, like Toney, to get back off their holidays and get the deal done, because they're not coming back off holidays right now to go and get all the media stuff done and travel out on tour. They're going to take the allowance that they're already allowed from the Euros. So maybe in that regard, Tottenham are holding back. But again, I mean, it's hard to believe that.
Yeah.
With some of the stuff we've been lied to about in transfer windows gone by.
Yeah.
But Ange Postecoglou, I think, you done a video yesterday, and I done one yesterday as well, on do we think Ange Postecoglou is sort of a bit annoyed with how this window is panning out? And I do think he would be. I think he'd be frustrated. There's plenty of quotes out there saying he wanted his signings in early to work with them. And I'd almost argue it's more important you get the forward signings in early before anybody else, because it takes time to blend them in with the rest of your forward players and the link-up play and stuff like that. So, look, I still hold out faith that we're going to bring in a couple of players. If it's Eze and Toney, I'll sit there and say, you know what? Fair play to the club. Respect. You held out for your number one target. You showed a bit of bottle. Fair play. But let's wait and see if it pans out like that first. Many of us sitting here hoping this is going to be the course of action. But if we know Tottenham Hotspur, we'll probably sign two players that weren't even involved in international competitions that we could have brought in here before the tour. So I'm not gonna, sit there and tell everybody to relax and calm down, because I'm getting nervous myself. And the only one that's going to pay the price, it's not going to be me, you, and any fan out there, or even Daniel Levy. It's going to be Ange Postecoglou next season, when fans get disgruntled with results, when he doesn't have all the tools, or we're bringing in players late. So I actually share the concerns that, we haven't done enough in this market. But I think, just lastly, Savva, I think it's previous mistakes coming back to haunt us. I've always spoke about the amount of players we keep shipping out on loan, and at some point it's going to have to come to an end where we're going to have to get these players off the books to bring in players. Daniel Levy's an accountant. Right now, in some players, midfield, we've got 12 players sitting there right now. He's not going to carry wages for 12 players into the season. So it's clear what we're doing. We're clearing decks before we even bring in players. But just maybe the fact that Eze and Toney are away at the Euros, that maybe this has allowed for this plan to happen this summer. Let's wait and see. But
I really hope so, Dave. I really hope so, because for me, I think where I'm slightly different from a lot of the fan base, for me, players like Eze and Toney, when I say when I was growing up, even for the last 20 years, these should be players these are standard signings. Don't get me wrong; they're good footballers, but they're not world-class players. I'm not.
The signings we used to make, though, aren't they? When we used to pick up Defoe and people like that.
Right. The Robbie Keanes, the Berbatovs, the Defoes, the Keanes, the Ginolas, the Andertons. These are the sort of players that I think this should be standard. So for me, what I think is, we know we're going to bring in two or three more. Depending on the caliber of those two or three is really going to depend on, or really going to give us an indication, Dave, as to what Spurs want to be moving forward. And everyone gets annoyed at me because I always ask the question, what do Spurs want to be? Who are we? What do we want to be? For me, if those three players, for example, were Eze, Toney, and Neto, just for example, I turn around and go, wow, you've just completely transformed our team with a brand new forward line. Wow, I'm excited. If we're bringing in, we're linked with players like Berger from Stoke, for example, and you think, like, people will start making the excuses, Dave, and, oh my God, have you seen him play? Really, that's not what we need. Ramsey, for me, again, people will get excited. Ramsey, for me, will be another meh. So, look, Dave, I want to thank you. I'm going to ask you one question, and it's really difficult because we haven't finished in the window. If the season was to start now, where do you think we would finish? Are we any further up the food chain than fifth with what we've done so far?
No, we won't get any further than fifth with what we've done so far. That forward line is a big problem. If we don't address that this window, teams are just going to rinse and repeat what they've done last season. And we've already shown we were facing that for a good chunk of a half a season, if not more, that low block against us and teams not, giving us space in behind. And we've shown over the course of a whole half a season, if not more, with the likes of Werner and Johnson, that they just don't have the ability or the answers or the know-how to even break that down. So unless we change that, you're not going to break that from fifth, up to where the other guys are. In years gone by, we got away with it because we had a Kane and a son, the link-up partnership and everything else between them. That was able to sort of propel us under Pochettino to that level. And we need that under Ange Postecoglou. Werner and Johnson are not going to get us there. They're okay as impact subs off the bench, 10, 15 minutes to go, run the legs off a fullback, no problem. But to start a game to break down teams, not going to happen. So I don't see it happening. Also, you look at other clubs around us who finished, Aston Villa, who we have to try and beat, right? Get above them. They've already gone knee-deep into the market. They've already made a few of their signings. They're getting their squad prepared to take that next step. You look at Man United. Okay, fair enough to sign Euro, who's young. I do hear people give out about Tottenham signings younks of Archie Gray, and then in the same breath go, look at Man United, but look at Euro. He's only 18 years of age, and then they brought in Joshua Zirkzee, and I think it's still on his way there. But the thing is, United are making moves to try and get back to once where they were. And I also look at it, Liverpool, change of manager. No manager is going to come in there and be able to bring the heights that Jurgen Klopp did. He's going to be out of there within a season or two. They're in a transition period at Liverpool right now, so they're probably going to drop off for this season. Pep Guardiola's one more year left at City. I think he's gone. So right now is the time for us to be able to bring in the right players and propel ourselves to be able to get in a title challenge. As soon as Pep walks away from Man City, we talk about
how many years, mate? Dave, how many years do we say this is the summer that I agree with you. Liverpool, I still think will be up there, but they're an unknown quantity because we don't know what the manager's going to do. Arsenal, for me, are doing great things. I hate saying it. Arsenal, to me, look like they've built a really good 11. They're adding really good depth now, which is what they needed. And whether they win it or not, that's up for debate. They're against City, but they look like they've got a proper plan in place. City don't need to do anything unless players leave. But you're right. You've got the whole Pep Guardiola's going to blah, blah, blah. But again, Dave, we say this all the time. Now's the time. And that's why I'm waiting for that one summer window, Dave, where we don't get all excited about kids, where we don't get excited about Timo Werner's, where we actually go, you know what? We're going to drop in four quality players that go straight in that 11 that makes other teams look at us and go, Spurs are serious. And at the moment, do you see any other fan base going, Spurs are serious?
No, not right now. Nobody's concerned about Spurs whatsoever. They look at our forward line and they laugh. They're like, no problem at all. But this is why it's important for Spurs to get serious this season, though. Once Guardiola leaves Man City, they're going to have an inevitable sort of drop off for a little period. Arsenal are ready there to pounce and take advantage of that. We don't want them win the league title. So now it's up to us to be able to drop in the quality signings. I think for the first time in a long time, Savva, we're actually entering a window where we don't need 8-9 players, right? We don't need 200 million to stretch 8-9 positions. We just actually need genuinely 3 to 4 quality players dropped in on this, and we're ready to go. And this is what I think it has to happen this summer. If we don't, we're going to miss yet another opportunity. We didn't take advantage of the PSR to solve a homegrown market or homegrown problem, which we should have. And now we're still dangling here with just under 4 weeks to go to the season, and we're still waiting for things to be addressed in the forward line. It's simply not good enough. When you add on what Ange Postecoglou said about getting them in early, why haven't the club done this already? Let's wait and see what happens, like I said. But I'm coming strong. And last thing I want to add, Savva, as well, just quickly, is about the young signings that we're bringing in. I know many people are maybe concerned that we're going in one direction, and to a degree, you're correct in that concern. But we do, this is why I keep, saying the likes of Mikey Moore, Toney, people like that. I do think it's important to bring three or four of this current crop that we've currently got, because it's better than any other years I've seen at Tottenham in terms of youngsters coming through. So we're not spending 50 million on Jacob Ramsey. So we're not spending 48 million on the likes of Brennan Johnson. And you've got your homegrown side of the squad filled. So you can concentrate on just actually getting the best for what fits, rather than bringing on the best for box ticking exercises. So for me, that has to happen.
I completely agree with you. I think where my gripe with it is, it's not that we're bringing in youngsters. I'm all for it. right? My gripe is that what we seem to have done as the fan base, so to speak, not everyone, but what we seem to have done is, because we've gone down that route very heavily, is that people now think this is the way that you win titles and you win trophies. And it's not. I think the youth is more for what you've just said. The youth is more for, in a few years' time, you've got the Devines and the Mikey Moores as the homegrown players. You've built the squad out. Then you don't need to go and buy £50 million Brennan Johnsons, Jacob Ramsey. I agree with you. But what we can never forget, and this is what I think a lot of people are forgetting, is on top of that, you've got to add quality. Yeah. City don't win everything because they don't have quality, right? City blood their kids. If you look in the last few years, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden,
Oscar Bob.
They've got that Mika Hamilton. They've got Oscar Bob. They blood these youngsters around top footballers, right? And then they can sell those youngsters further down the line for 40, 50 million if they want. The thing is with Tottenham, we're so heavily on the youngsters' side that people have started saying, Dave, why can't we win the league with youngsters? And I'm like, look, it doesn't happen. Youngsters can be as good as you want. When you're up against Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Nathan Ake, John Stones, you can't. So I think there has to be that balance.
Yeah.
Cool. We've done the youth. Now for the rest of this window, I don't want to see another 18-year-old kid come into Tottenham Hotspur. We've got 1 million of them now. I want to see Eze. I want to see Ivan Toney. I want to see, I just want to see some quality. But Dave, listen, really appreciate your time. I know we don't always see eye to eye on Spurs, but I think, look, one thing we can agree on, we want Spurs to win stuff. We want Spurs to get better. Look, everybody, you know where to find Dave. If you don't, you've been living under a rock. So please go over to the Irish Hotspur. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you very much. Keep it football in the comments. Yeah, keep it football. That's all you've got to do. Argue the point. Much love. Apologies for the hair. I'm growing it out. Take care. Dave, thank you very much. And as always, come on, you Spurs.